Welcome to Supermind Weekly. This is your sanctuary for deeper understanding. A place where the mind expands and the spirit awakens. Today's message comes from spiritual leader Azariah Terrell, guiding us toward clarity, alignment, and higher truth. Let us begin.
Hi, thanks for joining me today for this Supermind moment. My name is Azariah Terrell, and I want to speak to you today on how to re-win your mind. But before we start anything, I would like for you to first take a moment of pause with me. We're going to do a simple breathing exercise, breathing in and breathing out. This will allow us to come together as one and be centered while we hear what the divine instruction is for our life. Are you ready? Here we go. If you feel comfortable, you may close your eyes. Now I invite you to inhale in, exhale out. Inhale in, exhale out. Releasing any negativity you may feel. One more time, inhale in really big here. Exhale out. When you are ready, you may open your eyes. Now, the reason we do that is to create a moment, a space for us to center ourselves and to calm ourselves. We're in such a busy world and we don't get the great opportunity all the time to practice stillness. And it's important to know that stillness isn't emptiness, it's awareness. So today, again, we're going to talk about how to re-win your mind. If you like to take notes, I invite you to do that. But we're going to talk a little bit, and I'm going to share some teaching points with you that I actually would like for you, if you will, to take notes. Go back and look at this video again. And if you take really good notes, you can go back and look at your notes. How to re-win your mind. Let's talk about the problem. Today, our world is very noisy. And if we're being honest with each other, there is so much competing to take your mind. What's the big one? Social media. It may be family members. It may be friends. It may be your job. But everything outside of you is competing for your mind. And I want to help you re-win, reclaim what's rightfully yours. That is your mind. The mind is usually distracted by something. You may be aware, right? You hear noises all around you. You hear all these things happening, whether you look at the news, whether you, again, are on social media. There is so much happening all around us. And how often are you able to sit with self and say, who am I? What am I doing here? What is my purpose here? How do I activate my super mind? I want you to hear this, that distraction isn't accidental, it's systemic. Many of our thoughts that we have are inherited from systems. When we're first born, we're born into a family system. Depending on where you're born into that culture, and you're born into that system. And so that system, that culture, your surroundings, it begins to shape your mind. It begins to tell you this is how you should think, this is how you should eat, this is how you should act. And all of these things have become what the system has taught you to be. It teaches you what to think. It teaches you what you should think, when you should think it, how you should think it. And what this does to many of us, it separates us, this beginning separation of who our divine selves are. We come into this world very innocent, but then we're separated through all of the systemic changes or influences that surround us, that begin to shape us. And so, something else I want you to write down is that a scattered mind leads to a divided life. I've talked to many people along the lines in my career, in my work, and many people say, I feel like I'm stretched. I'm all over the place. My mind is so divided. Why? Because a scattered mind leads to a divided life. There are so many parts of you trying to figure out who you are. You may put on certain different hats at certain times. And through all of that, we find ourselves in an identity crisis. And what do we know about identity crisis? Many times an identity crisis can lead to a mental crisis. Now, my bias is that a spiritual crisis really is what leads to a mental crisis because the foundation of who we all are comes from a spiritual foundation. Remember this, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, not the other way around. We've been tricked into thinking that we are human first, having a spiritual experience. And then what happens when we lead with the human entity of ourselves is that we become too concerned with the material world around us, and we continue to do what? Divide or separate ourselves from our spiritual self, which is the foundation of who we are. In Buddhism, there's a saying that says, the restless mind wanders wherever it pleases. In James 1:8 in the Bible, it says, a double minded person is unstable. The Tao Te Ching says, when there is no inner order, the outer world overwhelms. So, what have I shown you here? All these spiritual traditions, every wisdom begins within you. It does not blame what happens on the outside of you, but it starts with your own awareness. All right? So, how now do we reframe the mind into what it actually is? And what we talk about is how do we activate the supermind? First thing to understand is that the mind is a tool. The mind is a tool. It's not specifically your identity. What do we mean by this? You have the most powerful healing mechanism living deep inside you, and it starts with your mind. When we go from a worldly mind and revisit and become, we're always becoming, our divine mind, then we start realizing I have the very tool I need to get through anything in this life. Anything. Because I activate the divine mind living within me, which means that the outer world or the outer struggles or the outer distractions or noise cannot harm me or affect me because I've learned to center myself and use the greatest tool that I have, and that is my divine mind. That's why you hear they're saying that a powerful mind is a horrible thing to waste, right? An educated mind is a horrible thing to waste. The first education should be that I am a spiritual being. As a matter of fact, I would like for you to say that with me. Say it with confidence. I am a spiritual being. Let's say it again. I am a spiritual being. I want you to say that daily in your life because now what we are doing, you are starting to reframe your mindset. When you say that affirmation and you say it, that is the power of the I am. I am a spiritual being. All right? Awareness precedes control. All spiritual traditions agree that attention is power. The mind can serve or it can dominate. Let me break that down for you. What you feed yourself, what you feed your spirit, your divine mind, or your mind in general, that then becomes how people shape their identity. Remember when I started, I talked about you're born into the system. So let's, for example, say you're born into a family or a system that says you should walk on one leg. Now, most people in today's time, as a human being, we say, oh, you may walk on two legs, unless you're born with any type of disabilities. But this is just an example. So you can go through your life saying, oh, I'm going to walk on this one leg. And let's say you then see someone walking on two legs, you would probably look at that person and say, no, that's not how it goes. You're supposed to walk or hop on one leg. That's the way it goes. Now, what did I just do? I just provided an example saying that one person is born into a system that says you can walk on one leg, but then they meet someone who says, no, I walk on two legs. This is how I was taught. This is the very thing that happens with us when we're born into systems. We see it a lot of times in religion. When you're born into a certain religious system, you believe, most people believe that maybe everyone should believe that way. And if we don't believe that way, then it can, what? Divide us. Then you may be born into a family system that say, hey, we eat pork or we don't eat pork. And then we start getting to the ins and outs and everybody's mad at each other fighting because, again, we're only talking about the systems that shape us. But what does it mean when my divine mind is my power and my awareness? It means that I realize all that stuff. It sounds silly, right? What I just said is bigger than whether you're walking on one or two legs. The most important thing is that we are all unified in some form or some fashion, and that the way anyone does it should be through their own divine way of doing it. A lot of us have now been distracted because of these systems and the systemic things or ways we were born into. So then we reframe our mind saying, I am not my thoughts. I am the one aware of them. You see the difference? I am not my thoughts, but I am the one aware of them, which then, through a whole spiritual, says I have control because I am aware that it is I living in my divine mind. But if you become your thoughts, then everything you see, you will become. Everything you hear, you will start doing. That's why you see some people, music is such a great example, where many people hear something, they're so influenced by it, right? And or you may see something or movie and you say, oh, I'm influenced by it. But when I am aware of who I am, I don't try to be who no one else wants me to be. I become, I am aware of who I am destined and purposed to be in my own divine authority. Are you following me? All right, let's keep moving. So, again, another Buddhist teaching says, thoughts arise and pass, but awareness remains. In the Bible, 1 Corinthians 2 and 16 says, we have the mind of Christ that is framed, when we talk about this in the Supermind, as a higher wisdom, an elevated consciousness. Both of these things are talking about an elevated consciousness and reframing how I view my mind, understanding that it is a divine mind, a supermind, a mind recognizing that I am one with my divine authority. There is a higher level of spiritual being or a God or divine power living with me, working in me, moving through me, working as me. Okay? Higher awareness doesn't erase the mind, it aligns it. You got it? All right. So what does it mean to rewind the mind? What does it mean to rewind your mind? Write this down. Rewinning is reclaiming authority, not forcing change. Rewinning is reclaiming authority, not forcing change. This is about remembrance, not repairing. Remember when I told you, when we come into this world, we are innocent. We come with it. That's why you look at children and how innocent they are. And as we get older, a lot of that innocence begins to be taken away through what? The systems. And so when you start to remember and become aware of who you are, you look around and you almost feel like you're out of place. And usually, when you start awakening and when your mind, your spiritual mind, starts to truly elevate beyond the systems, you can, and maybe you are out of place because, again, many people are walking around divided from their true conscious selves, their true divine selves. And now, when they may look at a person who's awakened, who has a divine mind, and say, "You're not doing that right. You're supposed to walk to the left like everybody else," but you say, "No, I'm walking to the right because that is what the divine mind in me is pulling me and telling me to do. That is my purpose. That is my calling." Are you with me? Okay. You already have access to clarity. You already have access to clarity. You notice what I'm doing here. I'm not telling you what you should think. I'm not telling you that this is the way you should do it. I'm telling you that the answers you've been searching for are spiritually ingrained in you already. It's okay to get advice from others. It's okay to even, get inspired by others. But the answers to who you are supposed to be, to what your purpose is spiritually ingrained in you. Why? Because, say it with me, I am a spiritual being. And because you are a spiritual being, that means you were sent here with a spiritual purpose. And when you're sent with a spiritual purpose, you must remember that that is your purpose. It does not matter whether people believe in that purpose or not. It does not matter whether people follow you through that purpose or not. The purpose is for you to complete your purpose. Why? We are passing through this realm of life. While we're on this journey of life, it is important for you to, to fulfill your divine purpose, okay? Here we go. Write these down. To re-win your mind is to remember who's in charge. Say this with me. The God in me is in charge. The God in me is in charge. Another way to put it, the divine in me is in charge. The divine in me is in charge. One of my favorite stories is one from the Bible when Moses was at the burning bush, and Moses said, "Who's there? What shall I call you? Who are you?" And Yahweh, considered in the Old Testament, said, "I am that I am." He did not say, it did not say that I am Baptist. It did not say I am Buddhist. It did not say I am Hindu. Source, the Most High, the Supreme Being, divine power said, "I am that I am." And so a lot of times when people ask me, "So who are you? What do you believe?" I say, "I am that I am." Because there is such a greater comprehension to what I am henching to what I am called to do versus what you think I should be doing. I am aware of what I'm called to do. So I am that I am. All right. Now, you don't conquer the mind, you befriend it. You become one with your divine mind. You don't conquer it, you become one with it. Clarity isn't found, it's reclaimed. Proverbs 16:32 says, "One who rules their spirit is greater than one who conquers a city." Isn't that powerful? One who rules their spirit is greater than one who conquers a city. Proverbs 16:32. The problem we have is too many people are trying to conquer cities that are not their own. What do I mean by that? I'm talking about your inner city. You're so good knowing what everybody else's business is. You're so good knowing what everybody else should do and should not do. But when you look in the mirror, are you befriending or being one with who you are? Do you know what your purpose is? The Bhagavad Gita says, the mind can be a friend or an enemy. The mind can be a friend or an enemy. In the Islamic wisdom, it also says the true strength is mastery of oneself. All this to say, it's about inner leadership, the inner power living inside you. All right, we're almost about to wrap up here, but I want you to do me a favor as we begin to this. I want to give you an awareness check. I want you to write down and answer this in your own time. What am I giving my attention to right now? What in the world, what in my space, in my settings, am I giving my attention to right now? Then I want you to ask, is this strengthening me or scattering me? Is it making me better or is it making me worse? Am I living into my higher self or am I living into the lower self of mine? What is it that is giving my attention right now? Is it strengthening me or is it scattering me? Last few things I want you to think about here. Freedom begins with noticing. Attention is how we vote for the kind of life we want. Small moments of awareness create lasting change. Now, I want you to imagine what this looked like for you to have your divine mind. With you now rewarm your mind. When you reclaim your mind, what does that look like? Mental clarity affects relationships, decisions, and peace. Stillness strengthens leadership. A clear mind creates ethical, spiritual, and emotional alignment. All that to say, a calm mind hears wisdom more clearly. When the mind is aligned, the soul can lead. This is how we live from attention instead of reaction. Confucius once said, the noble person is calm and steady. Proverbs 4:23 says, guard your heart, for everything flows from it. And I would go even further to say, guard your super mind, your divine mind, from everything flows from it. Because you are powerful, more powerful than you know. You may have been asking yourself, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? Your purpose is living inside of you. But for you to really unlock that, you have to reclaim your mind. You have to understand your divine mind and know who you are. Okay? So, rewinning your mind isn't a moment, it's a practice. Each time you return to awareness, you reclaim your power. For that, my friends, is the work of the Supermind. Thank you for listening to this. Now, if this resonated with you and you would like to stay connected, I want you to know we're building a space for reflection, a space for clarity, and a space for conscious living together at Supermind Spiritual Center. If you are local and you are in Texas and you're looking for a community that's helping you become aware of who you are and awakening the God within you, the divine within you, and maybe you're not the most religious person, but you feel there's something greater, this place is for you. Supermind is for you. Maybe you are a religious person, but you're not a fan of the division, or you're not a fan of maybe one way of thinking, or you just want a space where you feel safe to grow spiritually. Supermind is for you. You can visit us. The website will be on the next page, but I'll tell you as well, www.supermindcenter.org. Subscribe to us, email us. We'll send you out emails when we do our virtual meetings. And if you're local in Texas, we would love to have you as we are growing together. Remember, it is important to re-win your mind, because you have a supermind in you. You have the divine mind waiting for you to unlock it so you can live and be the best version of yourself that you are supposed to be. May peace be with you, and may you unlock the supermind living within you. Blessings. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and visit our website at www.supermindcenter.org.